Harry Potts's summer was, to put it mildly, a dumpster fire. He lived with his Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon. Aunt Petunia was an aspiring influencer. Her niche was hash authentic living, which mostly involved beige. So much beige. Uncle Vernon, bless his heart, tried to understand TikTok. His dance challenges were less viral, more workplace safety hazard. Harry was their dirty little secret, the uncool nephew who ruined their curated aesthetic. They mainly just wished he'd learn to use a ring light correctly, or disappear, whichever was easier. The Dursleys were obsessed with appearances. Their house was a shrine to minimalist chic and passive aggression. Harry, with his messy hair and complete lack of brand sponsorships, did not fit in. He spent most of his time in his tiny bedroom, which was actually a cupboard under the stairs, upgraded to a slightly larger cupboard. This year they were hosting a dinner party for a very important client who apparently loved drills and extremely dull conversation. Petunia was already storing her tablescape. Harry was instructed to remain unseen and unheard, like a poorly performing intern. Then Dobbs appeared. Dobbs was an emo house elf. He wore skinny jeans and a lot of black eyeliner. He probably listened to My Chemical Romance, unironically. Dobbs dramatically warned Harry. Harry Potts must not go back to Wands and Whimsy Academy trademark, he whispered. Like it was the biggest secret since the Colonel's recipe. He claimed dark plots were afoot. Terrible things were going to happen. Maybe the Wi-Fi would be down for a whole day. Or worse, mandatory group projects. The horror. Dobbs, in his misguided attempt to save Harry, decided direct action was needed. He found Petunia's meticulously crafted, gluten-free, sugar-free, joy-free cake. It was probably beige too. He levitated it, right over the important client's wife, who was, of course, wearing white. The cake then performed a perfect swan dive, splattering her from head to toe. The client was not amused. The deal was off. Harry naturally got all the blame. An official-looking owl arrived. It carried a warning from the Ministry of Magical Misconduct and Poor Online Choices. So, basically, another Tuesday for Harry. One night, salvation arrived, in the form of Ronnie Weasley and his twin older brothers, Fred and Georgie. They appeared outside Harry's window, in a flying Ford Anglia. The car looked like it ran on sheer optimism and possibly stolen petrol. They ripped the bars from Harry's window. It was less a daring rescue, more a mildly destructive extraction. Harry wasn't complaining. Much. Anything was better than another lecture on personal branding from Uncle Vernon, or another beige meal. They flew to the Burrow, the Weasley family home. It was delightfully chaotic and refreshingly normal, not a single beige item in sight. Mrs. Weasley was a saint. She cooked actual food, with flavor and carbs. Harry almost cried. He'd forgotten what real food tasted like, after a summer of Petunia's clean eating experiments, which mostly involved kale and sadness. The Weasleys were loud, funny, and didn't care about follower counts. It was paradise. Or as close as Harry was likely to get. Getting to Wands and Whimsy Academy trademark was its own adventure. They used flu powder, which is like a really dusty, unreliable teleporter. Harry, being Harry, messed it up. He ended up in shady alleys. A very sketchy corner of the magical internet, full of pop-up ads and questionable characters. Eventually, he found the Weasleys. They went shopping for school supplies. This year's list included a mandatory selfie stick and a portable ring light, because apparently, education was now 50% learning, 50% content creation. Great. Back at Wands and Whimsy trademark, there was a new defense against the dark arts teacher, Professor Gilderoy Lockhart. He was a celebrity, with impossibly white teeth and hair that defied gravity. His books were all bestsellers, and probably all ghostwritten. He was the magical equivalent of an Instagram influencer who bought all his followers. His classes consisted mostly of him reenacting his heroic deeds and taking selfies with students, usually against their will. Harry could already tell this year was going to be long. Things at Wands and Whimsy trademark quickly went sideways, which for Harry was pretty standard. First, Mrs. Norrisbot, caretaker Filch's prized robotic floor cleaner, was found petrified. Not turned to stone, thankfully. That would be messy. Instead, its smart features were completely disabled. Its cloud account deleted. Then, students started getting the same treatment. Their social media profiles frozen, their online avatars blank, their digital lives erased. It was the ultimate 21st century horror, a fate worse than detention, or so the students claimed. Whispers started about the Chamber of Cringe trademark. It was an old-school legend, supposedly built by Salazar Slytherin, one of the school founders, who apparently had very strong opinions about good aesthetics and a zero-tolerance policy for bad puns. The chamber was said to contain a monster, a creature so terrifyingly awkward, it could digitally cancel anyone, permanently. This was not good news, especially for anyone who still used Comic Sans, or posted inspirational quotes over sunset pictures. Harry started hearing voices, eerie, whispering voices. No one else seemed to notice them. He thought he was going crazy. Or maybe the school cafeteria food was finally getting to him. The voices seemed to come from inside the walls, or the ancient creaky plumbing system. They whispered threats and vague, unhelpful clues. Sometimes they'd just hum annoying pop songs, the ones that get stuck in your head for weeks. It was deeply unsettling, and also just plain rude. Then came the dueling club, run by the ever-competent Professor Lockhart, who immediately disarmed himself. Accidentally, of course. Draco Malfoy, Harry's bleach-blonde nemesis, conjured a snake. Because of course he did. Harry, trying to be the bigger person, told the snake to chill out. In Parseltongue, the language of snakes, which, it turned out, was a major social faux pas. Everyone stared. Suddenly, Harry was the prime suspect, the heir of Slytherin, the kid opening the Chamber of Cringe trademark. His mentions were a war zone. Being a suspected Dark Lord was not great for Harry's social life, or his clout score. People avoided him in the hallways. They whispered heir of Slither.io when he walked by. His already meager follower count plummeted. Even some of his fellow Gryffindorks gave him the side-eye. Only Ronnie and Herms stood by him. Herms, thankfully, had been depetrified. She'd used a VPN and her encyclopedic knowledge of two-factor authentication to restore her accounts. Now, she was determined to solve the mystery, because that's what Herms does. Meanwhile, Ronnie's younger sister, Ginny Weasley, was acting super weird. Weirder than usual, even for a teenager. She was quiet, withdrawn, and writing truly terrible angsty poetry. In a small black diary. A diary that seemed to be writing back to her. It was like she was possessed by an early 2000s live journal, full of bad song lyrics and passive-aggressive comments. This was clearly a cry for help, or at least a cry for better taste in stationery. Harry and Ronnie were officially concerned. Guided by Hermes's relentless research and a lot of Googling, Harry and Ronnie followed the clues. The voices Harry heard, the petrified students, the creepy diary. It all led to a girl's bathroom, specifically Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. Myrtle was a ghost who haunted the plumbing. She was very dramatic, and very much into oversharing her ghostly woes. Turns out the entrance to the Chamber of Cringe trademark was hidden in one of the sinks. Of course it was. Why would it be somewhere convenient? Inside the chamber they found Ginny, and the memory of Tom Vibemort Riddle, a smarmy, handsome teenager preserved in the diary. He was the real heir of Slytherin. He'd been controlling Ginny, and a giant basilisk, which was basically a massive sentient computer virus. Harry, with some help from Fawkes, Dumbledore's phoenix, a legendary meme bird that dropped fire extinguisher foam, and the Sword of Gryffindor, which looked suspiciously like a giant unsubscribe button, fought the basilisk. He stabbed the diary. Tom Vibemort Riddle's avatar glitched and then vanished. Account permanently deleted. Ginny was free. The school's Wi-Fi was miraculously stable again. All was well. Until next semester, probably.